We're into one of the most draining and exciting 2-week stretches of the high school sports season. Welcome into the Colorado Prep Show presented by UPSWING. I'm the editor-in-chief of Colorado Prep's Dan Mohrmann. Doug Ottewill, the editor-in-chief of Mile High Sports, always with me. Doug, I mean, you weren't with me at hockey. And then when I was trying to relax a little and watch some NBA basketball, the Nuggets just ruined my one day off on Sunday. But I hope your weekend treated you a little bit better.
It was not bad. Yeah, it was good. I feel rested for the games upcoming.
All right. Well, we're going to get into a lot of basketball, but as we start every show, we talk about what's on our upswing, and I've got to go with hockey because it's fresh on my mind. I sat in Ed Robson Arena for a hefty portion of the day on Saturday watching some state semifinals game, and we're going to talk more puck later, but hats off to Steamboat Springs, Pine Creek, Poudre School District, and Cherry Creek all advancing through the Frozen Four. Great atmosphere. The important thing, and our guy James Noakes, he was with me early in the day. The one thing we remember about last year's semis, we had 4 overtime games. We had 0 this year, and it was fantastic to get out of there somewhat on time. So on my upswing is regulation or overtime free hockey is probably the best way to say that. So Doug, how about your upswing?
I got to go out to my guys at Northfield High School. The Nighthawks, both girls and boys, find their way to the Sweet 16. The boys pulled off an upset that a lot of people didn't see coming. But look, hey, this might be a changing of the guard in the DPS. I mean, this is a school that's been knocking on the door of both programs for a few years now, and here they are once again back in the Sweet 16. So my upswing is Northfield High School.
And we are probably going to talk some Nighthawks. I don't know if that was something that no one saw coming. We'll get into that here in a second. But Colorado Prep Show is, of course, brought to you by our friends at Upswing. I mean, so many things go into to athletes competing at this stage of the game when you come to Winter Championship, Doug. First, you've got to find a place to go train. And a lot of times that can be cost prohibitive at some places. But when a young athlete earns an Upswing scholarship, it can be the first step toward breaking personal records and reaching new levels of performance. We saw it on the hockey rink. We saw it on the basketball court. A couple weeks ago, we saw it at state wrestling. All you've got to do is find the right place to go, and Upswing provides the means for kids to break through that financial barrier. When you get in there, there are experienced coaches and a safe, high-performance environment, and Upswing helps young athletes discover their true potential. And after every training session, you go right to the recovery area. I emphasize this often because I'm usually some kind of nicked up or banged up, and so when you're young, the recovery at Upswing helps young athletes prevent injuries, bounce back faster, and keep progressing towards their dreams, whether that's the dream of a hockey state championship, a basketball state championship, or as we bring in our guy, Jermaine Stafford from Upswing, kids that are getting ready for spring sports like state track and field. We got to introduce Jermaine. I mean, normally he's just been captain Upswing, but I think we have to remedy that to head track and field coach at Lutheran High School. So congratulations. Wow. It's been too long. I don't think we've had the chance to properly congratulate you on the show.
Hey guys, how you doing? Thank you. I appreciate that introduction, and definitely put me on the spot with my new guard. Overseeing 100+ youth on a track team is definitely a daily battle that I'm honored to do at Lutheran High School.
Yeah, and for those who might be caught off guard watching, whether it's on social media, the Colorado Preps YouTube channel, Mile High Sports YouTube channel, we're going a little early today. Doug has an afternoon obligation. I've got state hockey championship games to get to, so we're rolling at 11 o'clock. I still have fresh coffee in front of me, which is always a good thing because you can never get enough of that. And I'm hoping Jermaine's got his morning workout done so that he's nice and prepped and ready to go. But guys, I think we have to start off with the big brackets. The 6A and 5A state tournaments got underway last week. We saw the playing games, and then we saw the round of 32 get played for the boys on Friday and the girls on Saturday. And there were some moments that definitely caught me by surprise. I'm sure a couple of those results caught you fellas by surprise, but some key upsets. And so what I really want to start the day off with is, which one was the most surprising? I remember getting a text hearing that Palmer Ridge had taken out number 5 Cheyenne Mountain in the 5A bracket, which got me wide-eyed. Doug, you mentioned Northfield. They beat number 9 Fruita Monument, but in the Colorado Preps homeroom shorts that I'm starting to publish on the Colorado Preps YouTube channel, which you guys have before the show told me you were so appreciative of seeing every morning.
That's right.
Hey,
Could you shave? Well, I guess if you're growing a beard, don't shave, maybe.
Not the day for that. But I had mentioned, I believe it was Friday, that Northfield was a team that I was watching because of the tough City League schedule. And noted Western Slope hater Matt Langley said that Fruita was the one team that he had faith in. And to see that result was very, very jarring to me. We had the Liberty boys taking out number 12 Eagle Crest. The defending 6A state champion is out of the tournament before Coliseum weekend. How does and it's not that Eagle Crest regressed terribly. We had Jairus Crapshaw on the show earlier in the year, and that's a team that had all the makings of getting back to the Coliseum, or at least having a good shot. You thought they would at least get to the Sweet 16, so that was a surprising one. The girls were a lot of chalk, but I think, and it might be more for name value, the big one that I had was the Fort Collins girls taking out number 15 Grandview. I know there are no bets girls with the Wolves this time around, but Josh Ulitsky always has that team playing a high level of basketball. So that one definitely caught me by surprise. All of these caught me by surprise, but I want to hear from you guys. What stood out to you the most? And Jermaine, since you have been tending to other things, we're going to give you the floor first. We're not going to let Doug steal any of your answers. By all means, man, have at it.
Good, because Doug's been waiting for that opportunity to follow my lead here. He's such a great sportsman. But I'm going to jump right back where you just were with the Eagle Crest. I mean, that, you think about Eagle Crest leaving that early. I had to look twice. I said, that didn't happen, right? I thought it was another, division. I thought maybe it was just the girls versus the boys. But the Eagle Crest, that surprised me. Just because at this time of the year, you never think about teams like that not playing more basketball, regardless of where they may be. And we all know that league is tough. That's a tough league. They play tough, games. They will be battled ready every year. And obviously, we had Coach Jared on this show, and he spoke a lot about there was a tough league this year. So that surprised me. But give kudos to the other side. Those young men showed up and played hard and played fast, and that's what you have to do to put a team like that out of a bracket. I'm saying I get so excited about this time of the year because in high school sports, I'm around young people every day, and I tell you, one day they look faster and can jump higher than the next day. And to see when it's bracket time, it comes down to who has the right calls at that moment when it comes to basketball. I truly believe in it. Football is a different world. I mean, we know that the talent level has to match every play, but in basketball, it's a lot about momentum and inspiration. And you see some of these teams get the momentum. We've seen that, and unfortunately, Eagle Crest seen it. That they caught that momentum and they just ran Eagle Crest off the court.
Doug?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to disagree with any of that. That's definitely the one that jumped off the page to me. I mean, you just don't see a Coliseum field that doesn't feature Eagle Crest very often. And like Jermaine said, they do play in one of the states, if not the toughest conference in the state. So that one jumped off. But I also looked at, the Fort Collins beating Grandview. Not so much, because either team was necessarily a favorite going to win it or anything like that. But, Josh Ulitsky is a guy much like much like Eagle Crest that is always at the Coliseum. And I think in girls basketball, I think coaching is a premium. And I really think that a guy like Coach Ulitsky, he wins games because he's got a great program and he coaches X and O's hard every single game. And to see them get upset by a Fort Collins team who's not really, there very often, to be frank, that really surprised me because Grandview just doesn't, I don't care if they have the best girls or not. They just don't miss out on trips to the Coliseum.
What actually got me was the Palmer Ridge over Cheyenne Mountain game, and I say that because I had gone to the regular season game at Cheyenne Mountain, and Palmer Ridge is a good basketball team. They hustle. I've known Coach Nick Mayer for most of my life. To be honest with you, I actually asked him to come on the show today to talk about the upset win, but he just had a scheduling conflict, especially at the 11 o'clock time change. But he always has his kids playing hard, right? It's one of those. He's one of those coaches that's probably, if his team should win 15 games in a year, they're going to win 17 because he's just able to get a little bit more out of them. So I don't want to take anything away from what they've done, but Cheyenne Mountain had the quality wins on their resume that had me thinking they had a shot to play not just the Final Four, but in the state championship game. I mean, they were especially, I believe they would have come out of that region with Eagle Valley, who was the number 4 seed, and I thought that Cheyenne Mountain would have won that game to get to the Final Four, and then you face the winner of potentially Lewis Palmer and Palisade. Red-tailed Hawks have a win over Lewis Palmer this year, and I'm gonna tease him a lot for this, but noted Western Slope hater Matt Langley of Basketball Colorado. I don't know if he believes in Palisade, and it's might be tough to fully buy into them. They only won their game by 2 points, and we'll get to that in here in just a second. But that was a very stunning result. Hats off to Palmer Ridge. They have great kids for that basketball program. Coach Mayer does a great job, but it's still one of those surprising results. They got to play in that play-in round, and then you get a league opponent for the 3rd time in a year. You want to talk about the dominoes falling right in your lap. Out of 3 times, if you're a decent team, you should expect to win one of them, and the one that they won was in the playoffs. So that also would feed into my argument of why do we have 40 teams in this state tournament and creating league matchups this early. But that's another topic for another day. I mentioned Palisade. We did have some favorites survive some very close calls. The Palisade boys beat Pueblo County by 2. I think that's going to be one that we now talk about is what is this team going to do if they can get by Frederick. I believe that game's tomorrow, and then get to the Coliseum against the winner of Lewis Palmer and Pueblo South, who are going to be.
Well, we talk on this show, and whether we should or shouldn't, there is always that sort of asterisk by any of those Western Slope teams, and the only way to remove that asterisk is to come in and beat teams. And we already saw, Fruita Monument lose when they were in theory a higher seed. And so Palisade barely sneaking by Pueblo County doesn't help make that argument anymore that they should be respected, that they should be to beat. They got to prove it. And so far they're looking a little shaky in this tournament.
Well, and you could turn that leaf, right? I mean, that's asterisks can be placed and they can be, removed as well, right? It's like we talked about this all year in regards to student athletes and scholastic sports. It's the rhythm, right? And what rhythm they may be in versus the rank. And regardless if it's Palisade, it's Western Slope, or it's out there roaming around in your area, out there, Doug, and Lyman area. I mean, those teams have to show up and show improve, because people will question, their competition and talent level. But at the end of the day, when the game starts, it's just about winning that game. And, regardless if they won or lost close or moving forward, you just go out and you play those games. A lot of teams in the tournament, so you get a lot of that. But there's not a judge versus there's just a scoreboard. So go out and make score the points and win the game and move on, and let the celebrity judges be on, I don't know, American Idol or something. But it's definitely not something we need in high school sports.
And the one reason why I'm going to say, that might have just been early tournament jitters and Palisade is going to settle in, is that they do have a lot of quality wins on their resume this year. I mean, you have that win over Lutheran. I'm not picking on you, Jermaine. The one, and I'll even throw a little bit of an asterisk on there. That was before Cade Speckman came back, right? That's a 20-point win before Cade came back. So, I don't know how much he's going to make up of that 20-point margin, but they have played very well in spots. They have a win over Fountain Fort Carson, a 6A team who made the state tournament. They have a 38-point win over Palmer Ridge, who just took out number 5 Cheyenne Mountain. Ohio State's a quality team. That's not a bad team by any means. It's just, and Doug, I think you're right on there. You know, to get that 1 or 2 seed like they in Grand Junction have, there's got to be a point where you have to cash in. And the only time that I can think of is back in that COVID year. So that would have been 2021 when Montrose advanced to the state title game before they lost to Meade. And that was a very highly regarded Montrose team. So they cashed in a way. I know Coach Voringer would have loved to have had a state title win with that program, but I think our eyes are going to be a little bit on Palisade, and Grand Junction fared very well. I think they they beat up on Discovery Canyon, who had a massive, I think Discovery Canyon is going to have a size advantage over pretty much any team that they play. They have 2 kids who are well north of 6'7". They beat up Glenwood Springs last week pretty good in that play-in round. I went up and checked out a little bit of that game. So Grand Junction is seemingly, they don't have the tournament jitters. They have 2 wins over Palisade this year. So I think Grand Junction might be the one to really keep an eye on, as if you were going to say a team like that has a shot, might be the Tigers. We're going to move on a little bit to the 6A ranks, because Fossil Ridge, Denver East may be the game of the weekend in every classification. Denver East hits a free throw to go up 2 with, I believe it's under 10 seconds left on the clock, and the SaberCats are able to get the ball in, get down the floor, and just a nice little screen here to free it up, and a game-winning 3 at the buzzer in the playoffs, guys. Awesome result to see for the SaberCats.
Feet above the line. If you're a basketball coach, they scream it all day long. Feet above the line, meaning in that defense. I'm not trying to coach either team there, but I know my coach used to scream feet above the line. So in the end of the games there, if you go back to that last drive, if you look at Denver East, if those defenders get above that line, their feet above the line, that never happens, right? There's 3 guys below the line there, and that's a great shot by that young man. Think about walking in school today. For him, right? Walking down the hallway today, I could just hear, some sounds of Jodeci as he walks down the hallway there. But it's amazing to see those type of shots at this time of year. But that was an amazing game to see. I'm very excited to see how far that shot can take him into the next round.
Well, I don't care what year it is, what the rosters look like. Anytime you get to face Rudy Carey in the state playoffs, there's an aura that comes along with that. And Fossil Ridge survived, but I think anybody that beats East survives. And there's sort of that expectation at Denver East that you're going to be, an elite team and a grade 8 team, and all the things that come with being an East Angel. So any win against the Angels, I give credit to whoever pulls it off.
Yeah, and I was going to ask you that exact question. Like how much, and Matt Johansson is a good tenured coach for Fossil Ridge. He's gotten his team back when it was when it was, they've been in Final Fours. I've watched them in Boulder when the state tournaments were still up there. But how much does beating Rudy Carey in the state playoffs give you a little bit of, like, is that a pin on a Letterman jacket if coaches had Letterman jackets? Is that like one of those little awards that you get for taking down a program like that?
Yeah, and I really don't think that it matters what did East win 2 years ago? They've won, so many out of the last 20 that I think they always have a target on their back. That's a blue blood, storied program. And so anytime anybody plays Denver East, they're going to give them their best shot, because it's Denver East. It's like playing, the Lakers or the Celtics, or, regardless of the year, you want to beat a team like that.
Mm-hmm. You forgot the Knicks, but I'm gonna let that go, Doug. But
East wins it beyond the consolation match. This isn't 1950.
Yeah, welcome back, Jermaine. I love it. But you're spot on with that. It was just like Columbine in football, right? We knew like you still beat them. You're gonna beat them. I mean, at Grandview, your young ladies at Grandview, you beat that team. You know that team is typically around. So yeah, that's a huge win. I mean, huge win for a program for those young men. That coach can go and say one day, say, yeah, we beat Rudy Carey. They don't say we beat Denver East. Like, well, we beat Coach Curry and that team. Coach Curry and that team. So that's I would start out my locker room speech if I was that coach going into the next game by saying like we know we belong because the other team's supposed to have red uniforms in this locker room, but we have green. So let's go on and prove that we can continue to be the team on the court people want to come see.
There's another angle of that shot from the Pooter School District X account. And Matt Johansson has this look on his face of when that shot goes in and those kids are celebrating. He's got this look like, I can't believe we survived this fist fight, and that's exactly what that was. It was a fist fight all game, back and forth. And that's the kind of atmosphere. And right away, I'm going to say I'm super bummed we don't get that game at the Coliseum, because that would have been one just well worth the price of admission, well worth just sitting down and taking in that whole thing. We have the boys' Sweet 16 resumes tomorrow. The girls will be on Wednesday. So trying to look ahead, because after this, it's all Coliseum for the rest of the year. And so we're obviously paying attention to tomorrow's games. But as we get into this Sweet 16, guys, I'm wondering if there's any team on your radar that you think can score an upset and punch a ticket to the Coliseum, and getting there when their seed says maybe they shouldn't. And the one for me that jumped out was Silver Creek over Eagle Valley. I think Eagle Valley, we talk about those Western Slope teams, but they had a tough fight against a Coronado team who has shown flashes this year. I don't know if, aside from Jet Wells, if they'll see someone that can score like Luke Schmeickel. I think that's how you say it. I always wish the names were a little bit easier, guys. But
that's how you said it. That's how
I said it. That's right. But I always tell people I'm a writer. I don't broadcast anything until now. But this is a kid who's he can score in bunches. He put up 22 in a win against Monarch. He's he's consistently in the 20s. He's averaging about 19 points a game, 30 points on a really good Holy Family team earlier in this year. And that's a game that Silver Creek ended up losing, but that's one that I have my eye on. I think Silver Creek has a really good chance to get to the Coliseum. So
now if we're starting with 6A, are we talking about 6A level?
Just any bracket, any bracket.
Any bracket.
The one team that you like scoring an upset.
Well, scoring an upset is going to be, I look at a matchup, and it's going to be, I think whoever wins this is almost an upset. You guys can, I know you won't hesitate to stand, correct me here, but I'm looking at that Rangeview Thunder Ridge game, correct? Is that something on one of your radar?
The
See, I called
the Rangeview Thunder Ridge. Sorry, I thought you said Grandview. Rangeview Thunder Ridge.
Yeah,
I was like, wait a second. No, that was sorry. You had me tripped up. I mean, that's another game that it's a shame we don't get to see that at the Coliseum. But you like Thunder Ridge potentially getting that?
I do. I think, and that's the matchup that I think that still early out of the Coliseum, right? We're not talking that. I mean, to get to having a run, you would think those would have to be at the Coliseum to start your run. But I think your run starts before you get there. All right. And I think truly that's a game, the young man, very prideful, the Rangeview scorer, 1,000-point scorer there, they're going to have to truly stand up and score some points to beat that team. That is always a team. And we know that. There's a team atmosphere with that Thunder Ridge team. Those are young kids that play together for a long time, youth, and they get to the playoffs and they can make a great run. So I like that's one I see on the 6A land. What about you, Doug?
I got a couple that kind of stood out to me. One of them was one that we talked about last week, and we kind of said one of these, we didn't believe in that all 4 number 1 seeds would survive. And if we had to pick one, and I think everyone on our panel last week said it, Arvada West is maybe that team that people could see falling. And they play Grandview. And I think Grandview, it goes with what we've been saying, those teams that play down south in that, South Aurora, Highlands Ranch area, like they're just battle tested. They play a tough season, from start to finish. So I think that's one I could see Arvada West being kind of that premier upset. But I also look, and we talked about it earlier, but Northfield's a team that, they're going up against Mountain Vista. Mountain Vista is the same thing, always has a tough schedule, plays in the best conference. But what I like about Northfield is Judah Michael. That's a legitimate superstar high school basketball player. 38 points against Fruita Monument. I mean, you have a kid that's pushing 40 points and he's peaking at the right time. That's someone who can upset a team that they shouldn't be beating. And so, you can make the argument that they weren't supposed to beat Fruita Monument. So in their minds, why can't they go in and beat Mountain Vista too?
No, it was really staggering to see the score of that game at one point and just to see how far ahead Northfield had pulled very, very early. And then when you start hearing about what Judah Michael was doing, I was watching that game while I was sitting in Florence High School because I was so intrigued by that. So I don't think that's a bad deal at all. And Doug, as we talked about, man, if it's not the Centennial League, it might be the City League that if you've made it through that gauntlet, you're going to be ready for these next 2 weeks of basketball. Girls 6A, 5A, Sweet 16 set for Wednesday. So, and then we turn around and we get to see a lot of those teams play on Friday as well. So same question. Is there an upset that you see on either bracket that really stands out to you? And Doug, I'm going to let you go first. You didn't steal my answer. So we're going to let Doug go first.
Well, I'm gonna take a close look at the game that everybody's gonna be watching in Riverdale Ridge playing Broomfield. Broomfield's the number 1 seed. They haven't lost, but you have the story angle of Brianna Crittenden, who just scored 3,000 points over the weekend. This is a game where all the pressure is on Broomfield. They're the team that people think is gonna win. They're the team that hasn't lost yet. I think it's tough to go into a state tournament if you're undefeated, because you don't know what that's like. You don't know. You might not have been in a position all season long to have to pull one out. And I think the deeper you go into the tournament, that's what you're going to be asked to do multiple times, at least in theory. So to me, this is a game that everybody should be watching. It's a game that, again, just like I said with Judah Michael on the boys' side, I mean, Brianna Crittenden's the biggest star in this entire tournament, boys or girls. So you're asking a Broomfield team to not only kind of live up to their own hype, but to stop the best player in the entire field. To me, that has a recipe for upset. Does it mean it's going to happen? Not necessarily, but boy, that's one that I would put in the upset bin if we're pulling names out. To see Riverdale Ridge go on wouldn't shock me at all.
Jermaine, he probably stole your Riverdale Ridge answer, but what do you like?
No, I didn't steal as much, but I definitely won't jump past that 5A and the boys just really quickly because I do have to pull up in Parker today. I'll make sure I give love to my Lutheran because I did have Lutheran over Rampart. I believe that in the 5A boys. I think they can pull that out because unlike the game when they played Palisade and lost by that 20+, they don't have 3 of those kids out with the flu like they did, back when they played them. So, but my young ladies, I am excited for that game as well, Doug. I mean, I am personally, I am trying to convert my 6-foot 7th grade daughter, who is a volleyball star, to play basketball, but she hasn't made that switch. But I am going to take her to watch Brianna because I think if she sees this type of atmosphere, this type of game, she can see what type of basketball player she can become as well, and not that slow, watch the paint dry, youth, unfortunate youth girls basketball that she experienced years ago. So I think that's going to be a great game. But truly, I'm going to stay in my area out there, and I'm excited to see Eagle Crest and CT go at it. Right. I mean, the young ladies, I think that is, if you know anything about that area, anything about, I mean that Piccadilly and Aurora Parkway and Smoky Hill area. That's going to be a game, right? Between those two, and who can come out of there. There's a lot of recruiting behind that as well. Like where are you going to go? Who's going to go to what school? So honestly,
You
I
didn't say
can't pick.
recruiting.
Right. Well,
You
you
did
get
not
to
say recruiting.
well, you actually can recruit. You just can't recruit legally, right? Everyone has a choice to go to a school. There's open opportunities where you can either go to Mullen or you can go to Eagle Crest. I mean, family has choice to pick, right? So what I would like to see is a great game. I can't pick either one because I truly think, but I do believe the winner of this can go on for another couple games after, to tell you the truth. So that's a high one for me.
This one hurt for me. Jermaine's already got me banned in Parker, and I'm about to maybe ban myself in the Pueblo realm. I'm not picking a team to beat a Pueblo team, but I do think Roosevelt has a great shot at beating Meade. And Meade head coach Mike Ward, he's a friend. We have mutual friends. He's from Pueblo, and I know I have a lot of friends down there who are going to be angry when they hear me say that, but. Guys, if we don't talk about Brianna Crittenden from a girls basketball standpoint, we're talking about Kyla Hollier. And she has been fantastic for how many years now at the Coliseum. And she knows what it takes to get there. I think that Roosevelt team, Brent New led into his girls basketball overview with us last week, making a great point. Like, do we really believe that there are 9 teams that are better than Roosevelt going into the state tournament? I definitely don't. I like what Meade has because they're a genuine team, right? They have so many weapons that they can use. Maddie Clark's averaging almost 18 points a game, and Elena Gomez is right there at about 15. They handle the ball well. They play great defense. Coach Ward has them, operating at a high level. But in terms of the 5A bracket, Kyla Hollier is probably the best player in that tournament field, and that's going to be a tough one for anyone to beat. I mean, not just Meade this round, but Roosevelt's going to be a very tough out over the course of the next 2 weeks. All those games, boys pick up tomorrow, girls go on Wednesday, but over the weekend we had the smaller classification brackets released. We're not going to do the deep dive that we did into each one last week because I think doing 8 brackets is going to be a little bit more of a chore than it was doing 4 a week ago. But we are going to touch on the small school basketball on the Colorado Prep Show presented by UPSWING right after this.
There are those who say the modern world has made us lose touch with places like this. We say, that depends on what you're driving.
The Benefits Broker team of agents has over 100 years in employee benefits and individual health care needs and is your 24/7 resource for a variety of essential benefits-related information. Clients have enjoyed the ability to connect in person or by phone, while others enjoy the convenience of their online service where they can review the status of their claims, obtain summaries, and download forms including claim forms. Dave and Steve do their homework so you don't have to. They know the market by distinguishing the best products from the merely adequate. Give them a call at 877-545-4840 or visit them online at benefitsbroker.com.
Yo, I can guard pro in these.
I can guard you and route you up.
You sure about that?
You fellas looking for a quarterback?
Let's go!
You're right, Billy. These do bring out my eyes.
Every shoe for every athlete.
Dix is the GOAT.
Welcome back into the Colorado Prep Show presented by UPSWING. Dan Mohrmann, Doug Ottewill, Jermaine Stafford. The full crew's back together for the first time in a while. We love it. Things you love to see. The league tournaments, the regular season schedules for 4A, 3A, 2A, and 1A basketball ended over the weekends. State tournament brackets were released yesterday. You can find all those brackets real nice and easy at the top of the homepage on coloradopreps.com. As we do a little bit of a dive, I'm looking at the top seeds, guys, in the boys tournaments last year, actually in both boys and girls. There was a very common theme. You got the number 1 seed, you won a state title. It was the case with Kent Denver, Resurrection Christian, I believe it was Marino, and then McClave last year for the girls, and then the boys, or it wasn't University instead of Kent Denver. I see. I'm mixing and matching. I'm not doing this by the book. So we'll start with the boys this year. Your top seeds are Kent Denver, Strasburg, Sanford, and McClave. Are these our state champions? Are these the teams that are going to make their way through the bracket and hoist trophies at the end of the year, Jermaine?
I don't think straight across the board, but I do like Kent Denver. I think what Kent Denver brings is a solid team. It's close to us over here at UPSWING, so I'm not a ringer here, but I do like driving past there, so don't like getting pulled over going past that school. But yeah, I think they bring together a good solid team. But across the board, it's always tough to run that, what you just stated. I mean, think about those things that have to fall in place. But I do see Kent Denver going through and being able to host that trophy at the end. Very solid guard play. Their bigs are playing big. If you look at the, not the stats, just not 38 points, but you look at the, 17 rebounds here, 15 rebounds here, the assist game. So solid team coming from Kent. So anyone can uphold that. What you spoke of, I think it'd be Kent Denver.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Kent Denver's it's tough to see them losing. I mean, Caleb Faye is arguably one of the best players that any class in the state. I see him carrying them to another title. As far as the other ones, Strasburg's that team. We kind of talk about them in football, like they're that up and coming school. And look, Strasburg has been around for quite a while, but they've just been smaller. So they're a growing community. They're finding their way in these slightly bigger classifications. They've got the athletes. It's can they get over the hump? There's no reason to think they can't, but I think, much like that we talk about Western Slope teams with an asterisk, they got to prove it too. Sanford, I think is that 2A feels like a little bit of a wider, wide open bracket to me than maybe any of the classifications. 1A, it's hard to argue with McClave. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe they're the defending state champs.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they only lost 2 games all season. So they're a team that really should be expected to win it. I think there's a couple teams in 1A, and I'll get to one of those here in a second, but there's a couple teams that I think could give them a run for their money. So yeah, I'm with Jermaine. Kent, in my mind, is the one that I would put my money on to win it all. The other ones, they got the number 1 seed for a reason, so they should, but there's a little more parity in those classes, I believe.
What I like about Strasburg is Brody Hopwood has been such a consistent player all year long, and he's only a junior, right? He's kind of come in. I think this is a little bit of a battle-tested team just from postseason experience last year. So I really am curious to see how that plays out in terms of the 3A bracket. You look at some of the other top seeds. Yuma's sitting right there at the 4. That's a team that always interests me. I've seen them do some really, really fun things when they've gotten to DU. Forge Christian is always going to be a tough team to face once you get to that grade 8 rounds. So, and they've played well at DU's Hamilton Gym for so many years. Banning Lewis is another one. I mean, their 2 losses. One was to CSCS just over a week ago, and then they ended up losing to Lamar in the Tri-Peaks title game over the weekend. And I mean, guys, that Lamar team is going to be dangerous to watch in the 4A scope. So Banning Lewis,
Savages, right? Are those
they're
Savages?
the Thunder. They're the Thunder.
Oh,
we were
Savages to me.
Strasburg is still the Indians, but Lamar is now the Thunder. So
Thunder. Okay.
It's
Thunder.
really interesting to see who has to abide by the rules and who doesn't. But those are a couple of teams that really jump out to me, at least from the 3A standpoint. I think Strasburg has a tougher road to a state championship than the other, than maybe most of the other 1 seeds, because the one that jumps out to me also is Sanford. And really, it's just because the Simla Cubs are number 2. And Simla is a defending state champion, and that's going to be a program that's going to be really, really tough to beat. We go to the girls, and same theory, right? All the number 1 seeds one state last year. Your number one seeds this year. University in 4A, Denver Christian in 3A, Marino in 2A, McClave in 1A. Do we think that these teams, are strong enough favorites that they're going to come away with their respective championships?
Yeah, and to back up, I hate backing up like this, but Montrose, I think, can get a good win. We've been talking asterisks and the Western Slope a lot, all day. So just staying on that theme.
We're going all the way back to 5A.
Well, yeah, I'm sorry. I mean,
You're good.
You
haven't been here for a while. You can talk about whatever you want, Jermaine.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get it in. I gotta play, love to my people across the slope there, and I think Montrose gets that win quickly over GW. I truly believe that. That's another reason. Eric Sanchez, coach of mine out there for years, coaching that team. They had a name change as well. They played by the rules with their mascot. But yeah, I think Denver Christian. I truly see them, pushing that envelope and being that team they've been all year and solidifying that guard play and what they have in the bigs so they can go ahead and make a true run at it. It's interesting when you have a team like Denver Christian, and without getting name after name after name, because I don't want to name everyone, but they're 10 deep, right? 9 and 10 people. If you look at the numbers, all right, you can tell that's a deep team. If I'm a coach and I'm coaching against a team like that, if it's any sport, it's football, if it's track, if it's hockey, I'm looking at like who and how can they beat me. With a team like that, they can beat you across the board. You look down the bench and everyone on that bench can step up and beat you in some type of way. So that's the team I think when you're talking about high school sports can make a good run.
Yeah, I like Denver Christian a lot. I mean, they've kind of shown it all year. I like University. We saw them last year at the Coliseum. That's a really strong team. Can play physical, shoot well. I like both of those teams to win. I think, Marino is maybe in 2A to me seems a little bit more parity, even on the girls' side. And then I think 1A is pretty open as well. There's some teams in there that could knock off McClave. I always think, 1A girls basketball is a little bit of a wild time anyway. It feels like anything can happen. So, last year I think was an anomaly having the 1 seed win across the board. And I'm with Jermaine. Like, I don't see that happening on boys and girls again. So I think somewhere along the line, some of these teams will have to fall, and I might see that in 2A and 1A on the girls' side.
I think a team to watch out for on the girls' side is Holy Family. They just beat University. I think it was a triple overtime game, and you want to talk about another team with Coliseum experience, right? They've won state titles.
It feels like those two, the twin girls. What's their last name? I'm blanking. They both wear goggles. It feels like they've been in school, as long as some of the NIL quarterbacks. It's like that's how often we see them. They're just there every year.
Yeah, and they continue to play to keep their team playing at a high level. I know John Yunt's gonna bash us for not knowing the names off the top of our heads, but they would end up meeting in the semifinal, which I think is really interesting because you have Timnath, who made a deep run last year. They're in that number 2 seed, and then Kent Denver and Strother has the Sun Devils playing at a high level. Who would have guessed that an elite basketball player in the state of Colorado would be coaching a team to an elite level? So I think that's really intriguing. I actually think Marino, Doug, is one of those teams that's very much a prohibitive favorite. They have the experience. They ended up, I think they won state last year without one of their key players who tore her ACL. And I want to say it's is it Kyla Peel? Kyla Peel, one of their standouts. She's back from her ACL injury. She's recovered. She's scoring 14 points a game. Little sister Delaney's also scoring 14 points a game. I think that's a team that's stacked and poised to make a good tournament run. So speaking of tournament runs, do you guys, is there a team on any of these brackets? So any of the 4A through 3A, 1A, or boys, girls, anyone that you like to make an unexpected or a deep playoff run? So Doug, you had a good one. You had 1 or 2 good ones written down here. So go for it.
Yeah, I kind of mentioned it earlier on the 1A boys bracket and feeling like that was kind of up for grabs because there's really 3 teams I think that could do well in that bracket. But I look at number 2 Stratton, and they feel like the team that could win. And a number 2 seed isn't necessarily an upset if they go on to win it all. But McClave has been the number 1 all season. But they only have 2 losses, but one of them came at the hands of Stratton. So I think there's a precedence there for Stratton to say, hey, we can win this just as easily. Plus, Stratton's only losses, when you do a little bit deeper dive into their season, one of them came against Lyman, a bigger school that's traditionally always there, and then 2 out-of-state schools. So really, Stratton feels like maybe a number 2 seed because of index losses, as opposed to, really belonging, in the number 2 slot. So I look at that one and I think, Stratton has every bit of chance to win it in that classification, as does McClave.
Jermaine, who do you like to make a run?
I'm going to go to Ringer, and not just because I have to pull up to that school every day right now, but I truly believe in those young men over there in Parker. I think Lutheran is going to have a good run. I truly believe it, and I feel it. Obviously, there was some turbulence a little bit with coaching change, mid-season. I think they're settled down now. The feet are in there, and I've been around Lutheran for a long time, 10 plus years, and I've seen some basketball runs that happened there. I'm sure you guys have on both sides for the men and the women's side. But I feel that chemistry coming. I hear that those rumbles in the hallway to be prepared for, heading down to a different area to Coliseum to watch those guys play and get prepared to cancel track practice one day because everyone's gonna go to the basketball game. So
maybe there'll be the 8:30 a.m. game. You ever think of that?
I would love it. It'll work perfect. And they can come back and
you're the only one.
We can get these 400 sprints in, right, once they get back from that game. But I truly believe it, and I think Lutheran will have a good run on both sides. I truly believe that. I think I've always stood tall with the Lutheran program when it comes to basketball. The guys do it the right way, and they play ball at a high level.
Riley Bevington, Roaring Fork girls basketball's leading scorer, has come across. That's a name that's popped up on my desk several times this year. I want to see what the Rams can do. I want to see if she is tournament ready and if she can lead a team. I'm not like noted Western Slope hater Matt Langley of Basketball Colorado. I want to see some Western Slope teams make it to Denver and do something special. Matt texted me a little bit ago telling us that for boys we should be watching out for Cheyenne Wells, Simla boys, and he thinks the University boys in 4A could also make a run. So I should at least throw those out there if I'm going to tease them a little bit for hating on the Western Slope teams. But I want to see what the Roaring Fork girls can do. And then before we go to our break, and we're going to wrap it up with a little bit of hockey talk. Doug, I love having you in the agenda because we're trying to talk small school basketball. And so I'm trying to, before the tournament starts, it's my way too early Irvin Joe circle your state champion calls. For anyone who's longtime listeners of Irvin Joe, kind of get the circle concept. It's your strongest conviction of who is going to win a state title. I'm looking for 3A through 1A, boys or girls. Doug went 6A, but I get the feeling.
I thought you were talking about, hey, we're looking at the entire state. You got to put money on one team.
That's all coming next week. You got to remember, we got one more show before we crown all the. I was going for, with these tournaments starting, let's just get some fun picks out of the way right now. I'm going with the Simla boys repeating as 2A champions. So if you guys need a minute to assess that, please take your time. But
I got one for you that's not 6A, which I'll reveal next week. And obviously a lot of watchers and listeners will be tuning in to see what that pick is since we've teased it adequately. But I'm going to go with Denver Christian 3A girls. That's my one pick that I would.
You so steal my stuff, Doug.
He left you the low hanging fruit, though.
Yeah,
he left you the low hanging fruit.
I had the wrong category in my notes. I don't know how I could steal it from anybody. I just pick it based on my sheer knowledge of the game.
Yes, and the AI ear that you have, and you heard that, but we both would agree with that. I say Denver Christian. I say
Okay.
3A Denver Christian girls. I'm there. If we're staying, 3A and below, I am saying those young ladies of Denver Christian would love to. And if you know the history of Denver Christian and Parker Lutheran, it was kind of one and the same at one point. So yeah, great opportunity for Denver Christian to go out and highlight their program. I would put I don't bet, I'm not a betting man, but I will put my jelly beans on Denver Christian.
And Dan, why couldn't we go 4A? Why was that?
You could.
Well, then
I thought someone was going to take Kent Denver.
I
was trying to get all the brackets that were released yesterday before those tournaments had not started. That's what I was trying to do.
3A. You go back and listen to the tape. You said 3A through 1A. So that's why I picked Denver Christian girls. But if you're asking me to put a year's worth of tuition at Kent Denver on whether or not they win a championship, I'll do it.
Have you looked up the tuition number for Kent Denver?
It's someone else's kids, not my tuition.
Well,
so that's why I'm
that's fair.
to do that.
Danny Bailey, play the audio back and produce.
I don't know if we have the ability to do that in live time. We're not. We've got some things to take care of today. Part of that is that there are state champions being crowned today, fellas. So we do need to talk a little bit of hockey, and we'll wrap up the show. This is the Colorado Prep Show presented by UPSWING. Final segment coming up after this.
When I go to court, these aren't my clients. These are my friends. These are people that I believe in. And they have one shot, just one shot for justice. If they've come to me and we've gotten to trial, their life has been turned upside down in some awful way. I'm all they have. So if I haven't put the time in, if I haven't trained, if I haven't humbly looked in the mirror and thought about ways I can be better, and I don't present my best self in court, then I failed them. And that's what motivates me as a trial lawyer, because when this is over, that client goes home. And if I haven't done my best for him, I haven't been his champion, then I failed.
This is Tim Anderson of Gordon Insurance, and we are proud to support all of our area athletes. With offices in Lyman, Callahan, Flagler, Sterling, and Kit Carson, we offer all types of insurance, including home, auto, commercial, farm, crop, life, bonds, and workman's compensation. We are independent and thus can offer you multiple choices of companies, not just one. Call or visit the office near you, and one of our agents can take care of you. See all of our contact information by going to www.gordonins.com or call me at 719-740-1361.
Whoever said work smarter, not harder, didn't realize you could do both.
Golf season is here, and Denver Golf Passes make it easier than ever to play. Start your golf journey with Learn and Play 1.0. 5 clinics, 5 rounds, 5 buckets. Already playing? Take your game up a level with Learn and Play 2.0. Or grab the Friends and Family Pass. 20 par 3 rounds and 30 mini golf or range sessions. And for new players wanting reps, the Practice and Play Pass gives you 10 rounds and 15 range buckets. Find the pass that fits your game. Visit cityofdenvergolf.com.
Welcome back into the Colorado Prep Show presented by UPSWING. Good times with the basketball chat. I did get a text from noted Western Slope hater Matt Langley of Basketball Colorado that he wants to be known as Western Slope Realist. So I think let's see what happens in tomorrow's Sweet 16, and maybe we can grant him that promotion. But
the realist,
a logo Colorado Preps polo with one of those two names on it.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Or the realist hater. Right?
Well,
the realist
we should note that the one Western Slope team he had faith in was the one that got upset. So that's But speaking of Western Slope. Speaking of Western Slope, we have a defending hockey champion from the Western Slope in Steamboat Springs. They're up at Magnus Arena tonight taking on Pine Creek for the 4A state championship, Cherry Creek and Poudre School District meeting for the 5A state championship. Guys, it was such a fun weekend at the Frozen Four at Ed Robson Arena. 4 outstanding games. Nothing really felt like a blowout, until you get late in the third period when there's a 2 or 3 goal difference, and then that the hockey game is pretty much over. But I'm really excited to see what's going on. This is the first time since 2019 that Valor Christian won't be playing for a state title. Pine Creek is playing in its first state championship game. That came really thanks to the stick of Henry. I love this guy's name, Henry Hohog. It's spelled like hog, but man, what a great goal he had late. It was with less than 2 minutes left on the clock of a tie game with Colorado Academy. It looks very much like almost a soccer setup. You just caught it blindside. That goal put Pine Creek into the state championship game. They've been one of the more dominant 4A teams all year. And then Steamboat, behind the outstanding goalie of Shea Shorland, or behind the outstanding goalkeeping of Shea Shorland, beat Colorado Springs District 11, a home team who very much brought a home atmosphere. And yeah, it's going to be a great night at Magnus. The 5A game, Poudre School District is into the title game for the 4th time since 2020. Twice they operated under the Fort Collins banner. This is the 2nd time that they'll be operating under the Poudre School District banner. All 3 losses came to Valor Christian. So their biggest problem is gone. So can they capitalize against a good Cherry Creek team? Ari Gelfand scored twice for Cherry Creek as the Bruins were able to get that semifinal win over Valor Christian. Fantastic showing from all, I guess that would be 8 teams at Ed Robson Arena. So guys, real quick, I know you're probably not paying as much attention to hockey as you are hoops, but I just want to know who your picks are for tonight.
Jermaine, you go.
Oh, you don't want to steal mine. Okay, perfect. I will go first. Well, I would have to say I have paid attention to some hockey there, and I always pay attention to this particular school from my history of, being down there in that Colorado Springs area. The days I've trained JoJo Dahmen from Pine Creek and Avery Anderson and those guys down there from Pine Creek. I've always been keen to watching great athletes. So I'm going with Pine Creek in that first one. I see Pine Creek and, put the rubber to the ice and make it happen. And then the second one, I made sure I prepped for this so Doug couldn't steal my answer. And so I was like, either if I go first, I can say it, but if I have to go second, I'll have something to show who I think the winner is in the second game will be. And I'm going with Cherry Creek there, as you can see. Make sure the Cherry Creek, the Palms team, which was just national champions there, Cherry Creek Palms. So I think the boys can bring that hockey home as well. And as we both and all know, Valor and Cherry Creek has been a year, something we've seen a lot in those hockey games there at state championships. So good luck to Poudre, the school district. That's amazing to come in there, but I'm picking Cherry Creek.
Well, Jermaine, you're right about one thing, and it's that I would have stole your picks. I agree. I never coached JoJo Doman, but I think Pine Creek does have some great athletes, has had some great athletes for sure historically. But I look at this 4A game, and I think this, Dan, you alluded to overtime free hockey earlier in the show. I think this is the game that's going to give it to you. And it could be 0-0 because both of these schools have had such great goaltending. You mentioned Shea Shorland for Steamboat Springs, but if I'm not mistaken, I think Pine Creek has given up only 1 goal at the state tournament so far. So they've gotten great goaltending too. I'm going to go with Pine Creek, but I'm going to say that this is an overtime game. And in the 5A, I can't disagree with Jermaine. It doesn't have anything to do with their cheerleaders, which were exceptional. However, I think it has everything to do with the fact that you beat Valor Christian, you come into this game with some real confidence. And the fact that, as Jermaine pointed out, the losses on the other side for Poudre School District came to Valor Christian. And so, you're kind of, your problem is gone, but the team that beat your problem is right there. So I think that you got to go with Cherry Creek. I mean, that's a school that's just so used to winning state championships. The level or the opportunity does not intimidate them. And I'm not saying that it will for the Poudre School District kids either, but I think, if you're talking any sport, any time of year, girls or boys, and Cherry Creek's one of the teams in the championship, you don't bet against Cherry Creek very often. And I'm not going to here either.
I think if Shay Shoreland gets the start tonight, because they've had 2 playoff games, and she started obviously the semifinal, and that says a lot, right? That you're going to start a player like that in a semifinal game when the stakes are big against a team that is, quite honestly, Ed Robson Arena is in the middle of Colorado Springs District 11. Right. And they'd beaten the number 1 seed in Battle Mountain. So I think that shows a lot of faith. I'm really hoping she gets the start in net tonight. And I think it would be a fantastic story if Steamboat Springs is able to pull out a second straight championship win. And I think they've been playing well enough all year that I think they can do it. For the 5A game, it's a tough one, right? Because Creek hasn't won a state title since 2015. Poudre's been there 4 times. I mean, one of them was, I think, a 5 overtime thriller. Sam Simon set the national high school record for saves in a game with like 84, I want to say. And they have nothing to show for it. They have a fantastic lineup. It's senior heavy, so you have a lot of experienced guys. And their goalie, Tucker Lawrence, played a great game against a Regis team that is a blue blood in the hockey state tournaments. So I think everything, it's going to be a fantastic game. I hope it doesn't go to overtime, Doug. I hope neither of these games go to overtime. Let's hope for regulation wins. But I think there's something about this Poudre team. I think they have the ability to slow down the Cherry Creek attack and come away with probably a 1-goal win. Could be 1-0, 2-1, somewhere in there. So that's what I'm saying for 5A. But we'll find out.
Yeah, I was going to say, sorry to cut you off there, but you have to love the way these, you think about, you said Poudre School District, correct?
Mm-hmm. Right. So it's a conglomerate of all those teams: Fossil Ridge,
Absolutely.
Fort Collins, Poudre, Rocky Mountain.
Absolutely. Same thing with Cherry Creek, right?
Right.
So these teams from Cherry Creek, and that's just amazing when you think about how coaches have to coach that. I can't imagine having 7 or 8 different high schools coming for track practice, right? As a head coach, like getting chemistry, getting those together. And, my years of training, I've been around, that Cherry Creek hockey program. When you have those young men that come in and they're training for that, and they walk through the door, and some are coming from Grandview, they're coming from different schools to make up this one. So it's a highlight to those coaches and highlight to those schools to getting it done. For kids who deserve to have the opportunity to represent, a district, and ultimately like a huge district with Cherry Creek, and I'm sure Poudre is just as well. But yes, it should be an exciting game tonight.
I will have coverage tonight from Magnus Arena. For 4A game starts at 5. 5A game is set for a 7:30 start unless 4A goes to overtime like Doug is predicting. I don't know why you would wish that on me, but that's where we are.
Free hockey.
Free hockey. You got to love some free hockey. We're gonna close out the day like we do every week with some standouts letter winners from the last week in high school sports. I'm going to start it off with Jacob Dunning from Lamar boys basketball. Scored 13 points as the Thunder, not the Savages, Jermaine, beat Banning Lewis to win the Tri-Peaks League Championship. Lamar is a top seed in the 4A tournament. They'll be hosting a regional this weekend as they look to try and get to the Coliseum.
Yeah, I'm going to shout out Charles Wickland of that Poudre School District hockey team we just talked about. Scored the game winner against Regis on a backhander, which is always, that's not easy to do. But it was a sweet shot, and, just buried it and got the game winner. Everybody likes a game winner, Charles Wickland.
And then Dejanay Arrington from Pueblo East girls basketball. She scored a game-high 21 points, 2 for 3 from long range to lead the Eagles over Severance in the 5A girls tournament. They're live in the Sweet 16. That's a Pueblo East team. I think they've won maybe 2 losses all year. They're looking to make a deep run into the Coliseum. That's going to do it for us. I'll be at state hockey tonight. Jermaine's going to be training the future of youth athletes of America before he heads over to Lutheran practice. Doug's going to get nice and rested before his 2 days at the Coliseum this weekend. But follow us all on the YouTube, on our YouTube channel, social media platforms, all that. Of course, a ton of things going on across the Mile High Sports Network as well. Denver Nuggets with a tough loss last night. I'm sure Ryan Blackburn has a thing or two to say about that. Cody Rourke following all the Broncos madness post-combine. Hockey Mountain High guys are going to be tracking the Avalanche as they make a run for a Stanley Cup final. And then the next 2 weeks, guys, we basketball aplenty and sleep is going to be rare, but it's the time of the year that we love. So, Jermaine, so happy to have you back, my man. Great show as always. Doug,
thank you.
Doug, I'm sure we'll be in touch, but I'm ready for this 2 week stretch. So,
yes, sir. Yep, we're ready for some big time hoops at your favorite venue, the Denver Coliseum.
We're going to get into that next week because 2A has the best venue of all these classifications. We are going to get into that next week. That is on next week.
Danny, give me a pass. Danny, give me a pass so I can join you.
Hey, are you going to be at the facility all day?
That's a no. Well, give me a pass anyway.
Maybe I'll drop one off. I'm heading north here in a little bit, but we'll discuss all that off air. Thanks for tuning in. This has been the Colorado Prep Show presented by Upswing. We'll be back with more Hoops Talk next week.